Hi, I'm Quentin Lee. I'm a filmmaker, and I'm here for BandCon and just to be on a panel.
Awesome, awesome. And how did you first hear about Bangkok?
Actually, PK, the organizer, contacted me. He said, like, oh, we want to do some panels. I was like, what would I present? And then he said, oh, you're doing Chink, and then it's like perfect for the panel, and which is this movie that I'm producing right now. And also Campus Ghost Story, this graphic novel that I co-created with John Hahn. So we just thought, like, yeah, so that's why, okay, just come. So.
Could you tell us a little bit about Campus Ghost Story and how it ties in with Bangkok?
Sure. Campus Ghost Story, basically, it's an anthology of three stories that three kind of hauntings that happen on a campus. It's kind of queer. It's like a main character in it. There's six main characters. One of them is gay. He's coming out, and then also one of them is a girl is dealing with kind of like her own sexuality. So in general, it is about like sort of queering the genre. It's basically a queer kind of like horror film, horror graphic novel essentially.
Awesome. And how has it been received by audience as far as the queer aspect of it?
The graphic novel has been kind of slow because we actually did it on our own and we basically self-published it, and it's just been, but so far the reaction's been pretty good, and I want to get more kind of like LGBT audience to like take a look at the graphic novel because not a lot of them know that it's supposed to be queer, so it's like getting the word out that it's queer. It's kind of like interesting and challenging in terms of marketing.
And I'm new to your work. It seems like you like to have the queer characters, but it's not the focus. It's more just an aspect of their lives. Is that a conscious decision or just more your style?
I think in the beginning, when I first started making films, I really wanted to make like just queer Asian films. And I think throughout my career, my work has kind of broadened out to like, something like The People I've Slept With, where we have, Wilson Cruz, who's like, a queer color person in the movie, but it's not, he's just being himself, and he's sort of best friend. He's sort of the gay best friend. So I think my work is starting to broaden out a little bit. So that's good. And even with White Frog, it's kind of like my latest film. It's essentially it's kind of a queer film, but it's also a teen drama. So we'll see how that's gonna play out.
And as times are changing and there's more and more LGBTQ characters in the media, do you think that this is the direction that we're heading as far as characters that happen to be LGBTQ, not stories that are strictly about them being with those identities?
I think I think that it's sort of like definitely there should be more kind of LGBT characters in mainstream, and I think it's going to happen more. Just like there'll be more like Asian Americans or like African Americans, and but I think it still needs. I mean, queer creators still need to create sort of like queer content. Not necessarily about just identity coming out and things like that, but you can have a queer main character doing different things or like a queer narrative in some way. So I think that still needs to come from like queer creators themselves.
And tell us about Chink and your decision to choose that title.
Well, Chink, we actually wanted that title for a while, and then apparently, like a lot of people just even like they've heard about the project, they didn't want to read the script, so there's no way for us to even get it to like financiers. So we changed it to Model Minority, and then somebody took that title, and then we just decided to go back to Chink because that was the original title we wanted, and we just basically took that project out on crowdfunding. We raised about like a little bit under $50,000, and then we shot the movie, and hopefully you guys will be seeing it at the film festivals and beyond.
And how do you feel about the representation of Asian characters in the comic world?
That's actually a good question to ask, like John Hahn, because I don't read as many comic books as I should. But I like someone like Adrian Tomine. Like, is it Adrian Tomine? Yeah, and I think he actually writes really cool kind of graphic novels, with Asian characters, with Asian American characters, but they're not doing just they're not very kind of like Asian doing. I think like his stuff is actually the way to go. I kind of like his stuff. Yeah.
And one thing that I've been throwing at people since it's BenCon, and Prop 8 is going to the Supreme Court right now. If you had to pick a superhero to fight Prop 8, who would it be?
I think I'd pick Superman. Yeah.
Any particular reason why?
It's interesting. I don't know why kind of gay people tend to gravitate towards him. It's just like, Bryan Singer made the Superman remake and my friend produced it. And somehow I think there's something kind of like really, empowering and also kind of like hot about his character.
Plus, he was once played by Dean Cain. He's
Oh,
half
of
Asian.
course, yes, of course, yeah.
Are you a secret serial killer?
I've always loved serial killers. When I was young, I was obsessed with serial killers. I think they're fascinating people. I don't know. I don't want to be one, but I don't think I can kill anybody. I mean, that's probably the secret that I don't want people to know, that I probably can't kill anybody because I'm such a. I love animals and love like all kinds of like creatures. So I probably am like a softie inside. So.
Me too.